One of my friends went to a convention recently and Mandip Gill was there along with Billy Piper. And the audience was told they are not allowed to talk about this show. If I hadn't gotten that message from SAG-AFTRA, that was the biggest, like, ding, this show is definitely struck. And for those who are curious as to why, because I know that this show is still in production, I believe that has to do with two things.
So for those who have been paying attention to the entertainment industry strikes that have been happening in America over the past few months, the Writers Guild of America has been striking at time of recording for just over 130 days. SAG-AFTRA, which is the actors' union, has been striking for nearly 2 months. You may remember the cast of the Chris Nolan film Oppenheimer walking out of the premiere to join the strikes, join the picket line. And I'm joined by Doctor Who fan, TikToker, Katie Haynes, who has been looking into what's been happening with the strikes. Katie, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me, genuinely.
It's lovely to have you here as one of the biggest 13th Doctor fans, and also an actor based in America who has been using your platform on TikTok and on Instagram and others to talk about the importance of the strikes, what's been going on. But for the uninitiated, can you please talk us through what is the reason for this recent upcoming wave of strikes in America?
A couple of the main reasons for the strikes, and for your listeners, I will provide the links to the official SAG-AFTRA why we're fighting for this, why we're fighting this strike, as well as the WGA writers' strike. There are several key points to this strike. Number one is pay. SAG-AFTRA originally asked for an 11% increase. AMPTP said, we're only going to give you 5%. And with inflation, that's not raising much. And this is something that also the Writers Guild of America is talking about, is streaming residuals. As of right now, I do not believe there is a plan for actors or writers to receive residuals from the streaming of their shows on Netflix, on Disney Plus, on Hulu. The way it used to work was that you would do a television show and you would get residuals from those episodes that would show on TV. Nowadays, with streaming, you don't get that for writers or actors. One of the lead actors of Breaking Bad was on the picket line talking about how he did not receive any residuals from, actually, I'm going to double check that.
No, that was Aaron Paul. I was actually going to bring him up next. And from what I remember, at least, when Netflix was first starting out as a streaming service, it was sold as the Breaking Bad platform.
Yes.
So for him as one of the leads of that show to get cents, if that, on residuals does not seem like a fair deal.
And you have to, one thing that I think a lot of people have to remember is the Robert Downey Jr.'s, the Margot Robbies, they are the 0.001% of actors. Actors do not make money. If you are on a production where you make any kind of money, you are lucky. I've been lucky in some of the things that I have done. They were wonderful, but they weren't paid. It was great experience, but that's not how you can live. You're lucky if you get something that is paid, and paid well. And there are studios right now that are not struck. Jessica Chastain, she was at the Venice Film Festival, and she had gotten permission from SAG-AFTRA because, as I understand it, the producers and the company that made the film that she was in agreed to what SAG-AFTRA is demanding. So if these independent studios can agree to what SAG-AFTRA is asking for, which are not unreasonable demands, as well as what the WGA is asking for, I am only coming at this from the position as an actor, but not as a writer. But quite frankly, there is no profession on this earth where someone should not receive a livable, comfortable wage. There is no reason. that that should that should be as clear as the sky is blue. Another reason that both the WGA and SAG-AFTRA are on strike, and this is I'm going to voice my bias about this ahead of time so that I can say that this is the way I feel, because I know AI can be used for good, but actors and writers are asking for protection against AI. For actors, that means that if a studio is going to use their likeness in AI, they need to be told ahead of time, and there needs to be consent. Like if I need to be presented with a form where I say it is okay for the studios to use my likeness, studios don't want that. They want to be able to take someone's likeness and use it without their consent. It's so wrong to think that if I do a day's worth of work, that a studio can take my face and use it in something else without telling me, because I'm a background actor. And there are other reasons. There are safety concerns. There's other pay issues. For the writers, I believe, again, there's no reason why there shouldn't be streaming residuals for the writers. But there is no reason why we shouldn't all be at the table right now, continuously talking. I'm going to go ahead and quote a very wise man. When is everyone going to do what they should have done from the beginning? Sit down and talk.
Yeah, so what I just want to also clarify for yourself, speaking on this platform as well, because you're not a member of SAG-AFTRA.
No, I am not.
You are not speaking as a messenger for them, more as just a passionate advocate for the entertainment industry and those who work in it.
Yes.
And also, while you're what you're mainly talking about is what's happening with the SAG-AFTRA strike, there's of course like a lot of overlap with the WGA as well. So when it comes to the reason they're not sitting down at the table, the companies and the big studios who aren't sitting down at the moment to try and hash out a deal, when you look at, say, for example, the average salary and bonuses of the CEOs who work there, I didn't even know this, one of the Netflix CEOs actually earns more every single year than Bob Iger at Disney, which is kind of insane if you think that there's no money in streaming. So is this more of a power thing as opposed to a actual financial decision from the studios to give in to the demands or to find some sort of compromise?
There have been reports out there as to what this would cost the studios for both WGA and SAG-AFTRA. As a percentage of total revenue, that cost a fraction of a percent. It would be less than 1% for Netflix, and even less than 1% for Disney. The recent Little Mermaid remake, which I'm going to go on record and say I enjoyed, in terms of production cost for the budget, was 250 to 265 million. That is less than half if they agreed to one movie. It is less than half if they agreed to the writer's demands. And quite frankly, I was talking with someone yesterday, and he said, they're so rich, they just don't care anymore. Maybe it's because I'm not that rich, but I never want to get to a point where if I was running a company, or if I was that rich, if I had that kind of money and I had that kind of power, why wouldn't I want to help my workers? Why wouldn't I want to give them the resources they needed if it would help them do their jobs well? Again, these are not unreasonable demands.
One reason why I mentioned earlier that it might be more of a case of a power like control as opposed to actually a price tag on the writers and the actors' salaries. I remember this story back in July when the strikes were just starting out, how Universal Studios in the dead of night cut down all of the branches and the leaves from the trees outside. Oh, they were given a $250 fine from the city of Los Angeles for doing so, but it was a case of, we know that this is where the writers are going to be picketing, and we're going to cut down the trees and the branches so that they don't have any shade while they picket.
And kudos to everyone on social media. It was because of the social media action that Universal got called out for that.
Yeah, and there was also the recent story over the past week where Disney was it might have been Disney. They're spending tens of millions of dollars on a PR campaign to try and look good. So money is not an issue here, clearly.
If you need a crisis PR team, you've messed up.
Yeah. There was the writer's strike back in 2007, 2008, which
I remember that.
Yes, which was famously resulted in several pretty poor blockbusters for the next few years. But what I think is interesting is that compared to then and now is the prevalence of social media and how I think that has really resulted in a shift in the dynamic of the messaging, of the support the strikes are getting, where polls have found up to like 70% of Americans are supporting the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes. You're seeing food banks across America who are, if you are a member of these unions, they'll give you a free meal, they'll help you out. You've also got the Entertainment Community Fund, which I think is probably the best way for those outside of America to directly contribute.
Please donate to that charity. Check out SAG-AFTRA, check out WGA. One thing that I think was definitely a big shock for me was that the particular show that you and I are both huge fans of is struck over in the US. And one thing that one of my friends went to a convention recently, and Mandip Gill was there along with Billy Piper. And the audience was told they are not allowed to talk about this show, which was, if I hadn't gotten that message from SAG-AFTRA, that was the biggest, like, ding, this show is definitely struck. And for those who are curious as to why, because I know that this show is still in production, I believe that has to do with two things. One, UK actors are under UK equity, and UK equity is not striking right now. So their productions are moving forward. In fact, there is something on SAG-AFTRA that says if you are under UK equity, you still have to report to work for UK equity. But the main reason I think it's struck is because of the almighty mouse. And the fact that now that the mouse has bought the streaming rights, that's the reason why it's struck. And again, one thing that I want to make clear is my decision to not post cosplay content is because when I put that on and when I do my accent and when I give it my all, I definitely feel like I'm acting. The SAG-AFTRA National Executive Producer and Chief Negotiator, Duncan Crabtree Ireland, which is a freaking brilliant name, has made it clear that cosplay is okay. And I think that if in particular, both for cosplay writers, for fan fiction writers, use your talents to amplify and let people know about these strikes. Because for this show in particular, you know there are characters of this show that would be out on the picket lines, who would be standing there, who would be demanding more than fair pay.
It has been interesting seeing as well, like you mentioned, Mandip Gill and Billy Piper saying that they can't talk about that show because there's a strike order on it. Freem Rajaman is promoting a play in the UK called God of Carnage right now, and she did an interview for a newspaper, and she said that because she's a member of the Screen Actors Guild, who are currently on strike, she's not allowed to talk about her past jobs, such as Doctor Who. That was specifically named in the interview as well. However, there's also like a little bit of confusion within the fandom at the moment about how these strikes are going to be affecting the production of the show. where, for example, the writers' union representing the writers for Doctor Who in the UK is the WGGB. That's the Writers' Union of Writers Guild of Great Britain, and they have not been given a strike order for Doctor Who. But writers such as Jack Thorne, who has written for the Enola Holmes films for Netflix and His Dark Materials for HBO, has gone pencils down in a mark of solidarity. So we also know Ncuti Gatwa has been teasing on Instagram filming for season 2, quote. I'm assuming that's series 2 of his run of Doctor Who. So is the show struck or isn't it?
I think it depends where you are on the pond. In the US, it definitely is. In the UK, it definitely is not, as far as I understand. In the message that I got, and we're going to pull that up, because I did a follow-up, I said, where is it? I said,
and this is also found on your TikTok as well, where you've been posting.
This was also where I posted on my TikTok. I reached out to them saying, thank you so much for getting back to me about this. I was hoping you could give me some information on why this show is struck. I'm getting people telling me that it is. I'm getting people telling me that it is not, particularly people who are working on the show. I apologize for the questions. If you could give me any clarification. And I'll give you the screen cap if you like. They said, I was able to look into it further, and because it is a foreign production, there are some circumstances that may look different than other struck work. That being said, we are asking folks to help us and convey the seriousness of the matter by refraining from promoting the project due to its AMPTP affiliation, which isn't fully clear to me, but I am standing by them for that. I want to make it clear to all cosplayers, all fan fiction writers, my choice to refute is because I'm just being extra careful. I think if you use your cosplays and use your fan fiction in both fun ways and in ways to support the strike, it's totally okay. And even the Duncan made it. Duncan made it clear cosplay is okay. But I am being super careful just for my own sake. And it's one of those things where it's like some days it's harder for me than others because this is what I love to do. But I make money through my own job. I don't make money as a SAG-AFTRA or WGA writer. So this is about making sure that the storytellers and the writers and the creators of the shows that we love and these characters that we love who have changed our lives, saved our lives, impacted our lives, given us hope in the darkest times, that they get a fair wage. And as I said before, there's no reason why any person working any job should be denied a livable, comfortable wage. Whether it is for the SAG-AFTRA strike, the WGA writers strike, any form of social change, the best thing you can do is research and listen and read and check your sources. That way you will know firsthand why this is important. And it can be important to someone on multiple levels. I studied to be an actor. I love performing, and I love that this show in particular, and a character that I have grown to love and adore, and an actor who has become this. The character is my secondary heart, and this actor who has gone on to do other projects that are so beautiful and powerful. When you have a character or a show that has changed your life in so many different ways, has brought you new friends and has brought you new family, and that hasn't just happened with this particular show. It's happened with other shows and other characters that over the course of our lifetimes have impacted our lives and changed our lives and made our lives better. You want to help the creators and the people who bring the show to life as best you can.
For the status of like unions in the UK as well. We've seen like an uptick in unionization because of similar industrial action, not in the creative fields in the UK, but broadly speaking. Like I'm a member of BEC2, which is Broadcasting, Entertainment, Communications and Theatre Union. I'm a card-carrying member of BEC2. So there we go. There's my disclosure and bias out the way.
Note to every single actor out there, I don't give a damn. If you mess with a techie, you are fluxed.
Yes, we literally keep the lights on. But what BEC2 has spoken in solidarity and support with the strikes happening in America, but have not mandated a strike or any industrial action, neither as Equity or the WGGB in the UK. Partly because BEC2 recently did a survey where 80% of TV freelancers are currently out of work at the moment, which is, due to inflationary issues, but they're trying to blame it on the US strikes. I don't think that may partly be a case of it, but I don't think that's the cut and dry reason, in my opinion. But so it seems like we are getting the next series of Doctor Who. Series 15 will be filming very soon. It just means that in America it can't be promoted or talked about to any significant degree. Now, I know you're not the only influencer or social media user who's put your 13th Doctor coat down, metaphorically speaking. I know Council of Geeks, Vera, she's also stopped talking about Doctor Who as well.
Vera did a wonderful video, Council of Geeks. I will send you that link about the strike and about why social media is playing such a big role.
We've not had any orders or instructions or anything to say you're not allowed to talk about these shows or anything, whereas in America you may have done. Otherwise, like for me, I'm still talking about it. But if given that order, then I would cooperate.
Mm-hmm. There are some instances where I've heard from some other people who have had to hold off productions of certain projects related to this show because they got the strike notification.
So what's happening with you then for the near future while these strikes are going on? Obviously, you're not doing any cosplay content at the moment, but what are you up to?
It's kind of a struggle for me right now because that's where I definitely feel like I don't want to say bread and butter are the most comfortable, but when I put on that cosplay, for me, it's a second skin. And I feel like I can just, in a weird way, be me. It's an instance where I don't want the character to overtake me, but I love being a part of the character and this character kind of amplifying who I am naturally.
I'm seeing a lot of the hand movements as well from it.
That's me naturally. So it's so funny that this particular character that I was originally, when I saw the first episode with her, I didn't necessarily think anything of it, which is odd. But then Jodie Whittaker did this pandemic message and it changed everything for me. And I found this new way of being me that I didn't think was possible. And I love it. And I get to be a performer in the real world and bring people magic. But it's on hold until the strike is over, but I've been doing some more monologue, still practicing the accent every day, doing some writing, staying hopeful, writing my own monologues, performing my own monologues. But man, I want this. I want the actors, and I put it out to the universe that the actors and writers get a fair, equitable deal very, very freaking soon.
Yeah, and just to wrap up, like I said, it seems that polls in America at least have support for the strikes hovering around 70%, which is, it's hard to find 70% of anyone agreeing on anything, which is pretty good. So what can, apart from spreading the message, the Entertainment Community Fund, as we mentioned earlier, is there anything else we can do from a distance on a micro scale or a macro scale, if possible, to help those striking?
Use your cosplays, use your skills, use your fan fiction, your fan art, your set production skills, your lighting production skills. Use what you love to do to show your support, to share your feelings on social media, show your support for the strikers, but use your own, as Duncan said, use your creativity in a way that can spread the message of the strikes, that can spread correct information about the strikes, and that can cause change.
And also, where can people follow you as well? Even though you're not doing much cosplay stuff at the moment, but feel free to plug whatever you're working on at the moment or your socials.
I'll add my socials if you want to follow me right now. Probably going to be a lot of just either randomness of me. I want to do at least, I'm going to keep doing monologues and writing those. And there's one that I want to perform very soon. My Instagram is Katie G Angel, all lowercase, all one word. And my TikTok is Katie G Angel 44, which is, I don't know, I think people don't get that, but basically I was a huge fan of the movie Van Helsing. I still think it's an underrated gem. And with spooky season coming up, if you enjoy any of the classic horror monsters, I recommend you check it out.
Wonderful stuff. Katie, thank you so much for chatting with me about the SAG-AFTRA and WAG strikes. Hopefully we'll be able to have another chat in the near future where we can talk Doctor Who proper and 13th
Yes.
Doctor proper. I'm really looking forward to whenever that day is. But no, thank you so much for your insight and for doing a lot of the research and the legwork for this topic. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much.